Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Operational Services Committee meeting. It is May 14th, 2024. I am your chair, Councillor Chris Thiessen, for this meeting, and I am joined with Councillor Blackmore, Councillor Berg, and our beloved Mayor, Jackie Clayton. I'll call this meeting to order, and I'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Blackmore.
So moved.
And that motion is in order. I'll call for the vote. And that motion carries 4-0. Moving right along and into reports, I'll turn the cameras over to our Deputy CAO and Chief of Operational Services, Mr. Brian Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. We'll start off with engineering services. We've recently posted tenders for our stormline cleaning and inspection program, Phase 3 of road rehabilitation, as well as Phase 2 of our sidewalk program, and have recently closed the RFP for sidewalk and trail inspection. Asphalt plants are open a little earlier than usual this year, so construction will be starting here sooner as well, which is good. It's always good when we get an early start on that. Work has currently started on Lakeland Drive with a culvert replacement, as well as some trail rehabilitation north of 117th Avenue along 102nd Street, and 102nd Street and 100th Ave as part of our road rehabilitation program. In facilities, the Aquaterra outdoor pool, we initially said June 3rd was the date. There was a little bit of winter damage to some of the pool tiles, but not to the pool itself. That may cause it to be delayed a couple days before it actually opens. So it could be sooner, towards the end of that week as opposed to the Monday. In Environment and Parks, Environment hosted the annual Dig It event at the Activity Reception Center, which saw over 900 visitors that were happy to receive seed potatoes as well as veggie soil mix. In Parks, the outdoor skate park has been relocated to the Hillside Outdoor Rink. As well, we've recently received a $10,000 grant to install trees in Crystal Heights near Holy Cross and Ivy Macklin schools. And the pond at Ernie Radbourne Pavilion has been stocked with trout by the province of Alberta. Transportation has finished sweeping grass boulevards and have started the residential sweeping program for the first round. And dust control, the initial calcium application of the season was completed last week. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right, well, thank you very much for that update there, Chief Glavin. I have Councillor Berg in the queue for a question.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Glavin. Just one quick question. On the $10,000 grant for trees, I just want to give credit where credit's due. Who did that come from?
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. I don't have that detail, and I will find it.
Wonderful, thanks.
All right, I'll look to other members of committee for any questions. Seeing none, I'll thank you for your service area update, Chief Glavin. And we'll move right along into our next report, item 4.2, the decommissioning of playgrounds. And I'll turn it over to Chief Glavin to introduce this.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. So decommissioning playgrounds, this was a direction from committee last fall. And administration has brought back a report on some suggested triggers for the decommissioning of playgrounds. With that, I'll turn it over to Director DeVries, and I believe he also has the funding source for that grant that he can update you with.
Thank you. Through Chair Thiessen, yeah, the funding source for the tree grant was through Tree Canada. So thank you here, obviously, to present the report on decommissioning playgrounds, as noted by Chief Glavin. Last fall, we were directed to bring back some triggers that would look or implement the decommissioning of playgrounds within the city. So last year, the playground strategy was adopted here at the City of Grande Prairie, really identifying and initiating playground replacements that result in new amenities being added to the landscape. So rather than just continual playground for playground, the current playground strategy allows us to put some unique and new amenities on the landscape. This focus is supported by Council's strategic plan, obviously in the neighborhood amenities area, and as well is supported by the Parks and Open Space Master Plan, which does call for our neighborhood parks to have traditional as well as innovative play equipment. That said, we did evaluate some criteria to potentially add to the playground strategy that establish some triggers that may initiate decommissioning of a playground. So those two criteria are simply the first being that in order for a playground to be eligible for replacement or potentially decommissioning, it must be situated overlapping an existing playground by 5 minutes. So where we have high density of our playgrounds, Those are the playgrounds that once they're up for replacement at the end of their life cycle, we start to ask questions about what could this playground be? Should it be an amenity, or is there a potential for decommissioning? In order for it to be decommissioned, that playground can be decommissioned if the surrounding neighborhood boasts at least 2 distinct alternative amenities, sort of within a 7.5-minute walking distance of the area in question. And so again, that's just to go back to ensuring that there are recreational options for that area within a neighborhood before we look to fully decommission one of those playgrounds. Decommissioning of playgrounds could be seen as having sort of a negative overall social impact. However, some may equally value newly earmarked green space as beneficial as well for recreation. And so it is something that we will have to keep in mind that not all stakeholders may agree with a decision to decommission. Attachment 1 within the report, does present that appendix for inclusion with those criteria for decommissioning to include in the playground strategy per the recommendation from today's report, which is that committee recommend council approve the addition of attachment 1 as an amendment to the playground strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeVries. I'll turn it over to committee for questions. I'll talk. First up, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. So one of the things that I'm just kind of curious about as far as a question goes is there opportunity, say 20, 30 years down the road, to reevaluate? One conference that I attended is it basically explained the evolution of a neighborhood. It's a new home, families move in, and then the parents become childless as the kids move out, and then they become grandparents, so then they've got grandkids back on special events and weekends. And then quite often those homes will turn into rental properties. So it's gone through a complete cycle. So is there opportunity down the road for reconsideration should we decommission some playgrounds?
Mr. DeVries?
Yes, thank you. Through Chair Thiessen, we do recognize the cyclical nature of our neighborhoods. And so these decommissioning tools allow us to potentially decommission, but ensure that there are still recreational opportunities within that immediate area. So it might not be a playground, but there will be an amenity or 2 in the area, so that if that cycle happens, there still are some recreational options.
Yeah, and then just also to speak to this, when I initially read it, I thought, well, who wants to get rid of playgrounds? But then I flashed back to when I was a kid and we had the slides that would burn you on a hot summer day and merry-go-rounds that gave kids concussions, and then it evolved into recycled tires. So there is an evolution there, and a lot of it is built around safety. So just kind of speaking to this, that should we decommission any, quite often it's due to safety as one, because the equipment is no longer of value, but also to the price tag to replace is often prohibitive. So I like that there's one within short walking distance, regardless.
Thank you very much for those comments and your questions, Councillor Berg. Yeah, I reminisce on my childhood, and I think of the Hillside Community School recess rumbles that I used to organize every recess and lunch hour, and the structures that we would jump off when playing tag, which were 12 feet high, and then, of course, the wood house that we would all try to force everybody out through one entrance or a window. So, yeah, things change for safety reasons over time, and this is why we should be mindful and monitoring. I also saw Councillor Blackmore in the queue for a question. I'll call her number now.
Thank you, Councillor Thiessen. I know we often develop tunnel vision about what we expect park space to look like. And so I'm curious, if we're decommissioning a playground, what are some of the options that we would put there instead, either for older children, or I'm just curious about what's out there that we haven't, that we don't have in Grande Prairie that we would maybe want to start to consider.
Yeah, thank you. Through Chair Thiessen. Some of the alternative amenities that we've looked at more recently, and it's not that they're not out there, but they're spaced far and few between. So things like a playable court, so like a basketball court that can double as any other type of court sport. There's also the concept of these miniature bike pump tracks. So they're built into the ground. They're very low maintenance, but they do offer a mini bike track for people to use. There's also very simple solutions if we want to look at the topography of a certain site, that we can designate an area that is for sledding and simply landscape it in that fashion. So, and then again, depending on demographics, we can also look at different options. Does the park maybe lend itself nicely to a gazebo, or is it in an area that would be great to have an orchard? So there's plenty of options that we can look at, and that's what we want to try and explore with replacements going forward.
And so if we have a very, can I continue? So we have a very large municipal reserve space, and it has a playground in it, but still has ample room. Would you consider bringing something in that is for a different age group into the same site, or do we like to keep the age groups kind of separated? I'm not sure there's arguments on both sides. I'm not sure what Parks thinks, which way we should go there.
Yeah, thank you. Through Chair Thiessen, we try and create as much inclusivity as we can within the spaces. So even to that point, there are some larger park areas that actually feature 2 play structures geared toward different age groups. So as we move through these replacements and potentially adding new amenities, it is something that we will consider, is ensuring that there's options for many different ages. So,
great, thank you.
Thanks for those questions, Councillor Blackmore. Mr. DeVries, I had a couple questions as well. So when we're talking about the triggers for decommissioning of the playground, this is just based off of life cycle replacement, or is there a way that we would or could evaluate a playground based off of its usage?
Yeah, Chair Thiessen, it's quite challenging to get accurate information on usage. A lot of that, and even when we talk with other municipalities, is a lot of just anecdotal information. I think we can use the example, if we say the Orange Park, we know which park we're talking about generally in Grande Prairie. So we have a lot of anecdotal information, and we use that information, but specific monitoring of usage is challenging. We also look at just operationally, we understand that as we're visiting parks, doing maintenance, conducting sanitation, we know the playgrounds in the areas where the garbages fill up the most. So that's, not a great indicator, but it's some of the types of indicators we try and use as much as possible to help us. So it is challenging to get very specific data, but we try and evaluate the information that we do have to help us with our decision making.
Okay, all right. So, no, thank you. That answered my question. Now, in regards to those same triggers, and perhaps this lends it to usage, if we were to decommission a playground, what type of consultation would we have around the neighborhood? Would we inform the neighborhood as to our reasons why we're decommissioning the playground? Is that built into our new process?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Thiessen. The current playground strategy does have basically a trigger in it that when we know we're not going to put a playground back, like for like, that we do begin consultation, and ideally begin that consultation almost a year in advance with that immediate neighborhood. So if it is a situation where the triggers are met for potential decommissioning, then we would likely reach out to that local neighborhood to inform and provide that information, and obviously provide the rationale and the reasons why. But that is sort of built in within our existing playground strategy.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that. I got Mayor Clayton for follow-up questions.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. And just to be clear, we wouldn't likely follow up. We would actually consult. Okay. Thank you. I think it's really important on that point. I think that this playground strategy is it's good for the future. It's good for neighborhoods as they change demographically. I think it's good for the community as we grow in certain areas. But really, what I think Council's goal is here to potentially replace it with things that make sense in the neighborhood at the time, and that will require consultation. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for those comments, Mayor Clayton. I'll look for any other questions from committee or members of council still in the room. Seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion if there is one. Councillor Burke.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. I would like to move the committee recommend council approve the addition of attachment 1 as an amendment to the playground strategy.
That motion is in order. I guess I'll just throw in my 2 cents on this. I really appreciate the methodology that administration took in evaluating when and where we might get rid of playgrounds, knowing that it's still walkable distance for nearby amenities of playgrounds for people to take their family to or their kids is a bit of a relief, considering I know there's multiple examples throughout neighborhoods. I'm thinking Country Club West, I'm thinking Riverstone, Cobblestone, where you have multiple parks within 1 block of each other, and they just seem to go over every street. So I do like this methodology because for me, As long as the neighbors are informed or the people in the neighborhood are informed, at least they'll know that they're not losing access to a playground and that we're being mindful in this recreation opportunity for their kids. Saying that, looking around, I see no other hands going up, so I'll call the question. That motion carries. We'll be seeing it again at council. Thank you very much, Mr. DeVries. And moving right along, we are now at the in-camera portion of our agenda, so I'll look for a motion to go in camera. Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. I move we move in camera.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'll call the question. That motion carries 4-0, so we'll just take a second while we clear some of the room. Welcome, everybody. We are back from our in-camera session of the Operational Services Committee meeting here today on May 14th. We have no other business or correspondence, so we'll just finish off the work here and go to our outstanding items list, which I'll turn over to Chief Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. Today we heard the report on decommissioning playgrounds, and that can be removed from our outstanding items list. Otherwise, no changes.
All right, sounds glorious. Look to Councillor Berg for the motion.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. I'd like to move committee receive the May 14th outstanding items list as amended for information.
Sounds like it's in order. I'll look to lead services and call this to question.
Councillor Berg in favor.
And that motion carries by a 4-0 vote. And with that, it concludes our business for the day. Thank you very much, everyone, for sticking around with us for this time. We'll see you again in 2 weeks and sooner at Council. Meeting adjourned.